Retain Gang YouTube squad. What's going on, fellas? All right. So, want to talk about when semen retention gets hard. And you could take that figuratively or literally. Man. So, there's a lot of things I want to say, but I'm going to try and keep this video on the shorter side and stick to a topic the best I can. But there's a lot of things have been kind of percolating in my mind, percolating in my loins as well. Some things percolating in my emotional body as well. A lot of percolation going on. It's a fun word. So, all right. I don't know. I lost count. I don't know the exact date I started. I know I'm somewhere in the 9-month area. I think I'm gonna just say I'm gonna go for a year minimum. You know, we'll see. We'll see where we're at there. But really, this is a grand experiment for me, and I am becoming somewhat weary of the tendency to kind of like latch on to something that you do, some practice of yours, something that's very important and central in your life, you know. The tendency of the mind to start to use these things that we do in our lives to generate an identity for ourselves. Like, this is who I am. So, for example, personally, music, I spend a lot of time playing music. I've spent a lot of my life devoting my time and attention to that. Spent a lot of my life identified with that. So the guitar for me was like an extension of my body, and it was also a part of my identity structure. And I didn't know there was anything wrong with that. And there's, I guess, not necessarily anything wrong with that, but in my case, there certainly was. I guess what's wrong with it is that if that's who you think you are, think again, because who you really are, who I really am, is not really something that can be articulated. And it definitely can't be articulated in, like, you know, who are you? I'm a cop. I'm a doctor. No, but who are you? Who's the cop? Who's the doctor? You see what I'm saying? This is self-inquiry. There's a whole branch of Vedic philosophy dedicated to really what I'm getting into here, which is, who are we really? And let's not fool ourselves about that, and let's not get attached to identities that give us a sense of value. And the issue with that is that the identities that we create, the narratives, the ego, the egoic structures of the mind, the things that we think we are, we're really not. So if our sense of self-worth and our sense of value is dependent on those identity structures, those narratives, then your self-worth is in a very vulnerable state, right? Because a lot of these things can change. You know, life will throw curveballs at you. So for me, like with the guitar, for example, I spent so many years just with a guitar in my hands. I'm a guitar guy. Like, that's what I do. That's not only is that what I do, that's who I am. It was such a huge part of my identity. And at one point, a few years back, I had every single thing that I owned stolen from me. I had 7 guitars at that point. I was making my living mostly playing guitar at that point. I lost all of them. I had a lot of gear, I had a lot of amps, pedals. You know, I'd spent a lot of time developing a sound that I thought was mine, and I identified with that. This is my sound. This is what I sound like. These guitars are like a part of me. So that event crushed me beyond description. And I was, perfectly honest. Me and a group of guys had AK-47s and were ready to hunt down whoever stole my stuff. That's the mentality I was in. I lost my cool completely. I had a breakdown, a nervous breakdown, basically, that lasted, I want to say, close to a year. It was like a series of nervous breakdowns that all started with that. And in the moment, it was just anger and rage, and like who would do this? Who would do such a thing to me? By the way, detail of this story: I was living in a 22-foot camper trailer with my then fiance. The entire trailer is what got stolen. Somebody somebody had been spying on us, hitched up the whole thing, stole it. It never reappeared. We both lost everything that we had, and we're homeless, like that. Happened to be the day after my birthday as well, just to make it even cooler of a story. But so anyways, this took a huge toll on me, and people around me started to worry about me. I was scaring people. I was scaring my ex, the level of anger she saw. Of course, she was freaked out by it and traumatized, and she lost all the stuff she owned too, but she wasn't ready to go, brutally murder somebody about it. And she saw me, with my blood boiling, with just, and I don't know what that was like for her, but I imagine it was scary because I was unhinged, and looking back on this, it really wasn't about the stuff. I ended up having all of these people donate money to me, donate clothes, instruments. I mean, now I'm sitting here today in a better position than I've ever been in life, despite all of this stuff. So I can sit here back and reflect on it and see the deeper meaning in it and the lessons in it. And the reason why it was such a big deal for me, it was a bigger deal for me to lose those guitars than it was to lose the roof over my head, actually. Because it was like somebody had taken a part of me away. So it was like an existential thing. It was like you stole part of me, of who I am. And then I was having like kind of almost like an existential crisis, or like an identity crisis. If I can't play the guitar, then who am I? And then I think after that, I kind of went even harder on the weightlifting stuff. I latched onto that, as like an anchor, for my identity, though, because I didn't realize, it wasn't just an outlet, to move my body and exercise. It was also like an anchor point, because it's like, that's part of my identity too. It's like, I'm a guy that lifts weights. So I need to like hold on to that aspect of myself, because if that went away, who am I? Well, then sure enough, fast forward a year down the road, I get a knee injury that prevents me from weightlifting for a solid year. And that was extremely difficult to me. But it forced me to reconcile with the fact that I have started to identify with this activity. And when you take this activity away from me, I'm still me. So who am I? And why is my identity so easily threatened? Why am I so easily brought to my knees? And after a series of events like this, also in the mix here was losing my fiance and having her ultimately get pregnant with one of her coworkers and leave me and betray me and lie to me, and a lot of really painful stuff went down. But again, she was part of my identity structure too. I was the guy that was engaged to the hottest girl in town. That's what was going through my mind. So a lot of pride, a lot of vanity, and a lot of attachment. And a lot of this stuff was just my ego. And it got torn apart, got torn to shreds. Circumstance, I call it God, took all of these things away from me to teach me a very powerful lesson, that I'm not any of these things, and none of these things define me. And that if at any point there is some activity in my life, with other than like breathing, eating, sleeping, the fundamentals, other than that, if there's something that I'm just not okay without, that's something worth looking at, because that suggests that now you've identified with this, and now you might be losing sight of the real deeper truth of who you are. And so retention, I think, can become that. It can become something that it's like, well, if you've gone long enough, I've invested so much time into this, that there'd be this fear of like, well, if I had one release, I lost all of this progress, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. And the thing is like, this isn't, I don't think we should really equate this to like saving up money in a piggy bank kind of thing. I think a lot of people think of it that way, and you can, and there is an element to this that is like that, where you are kind of accumulating energy over time, but also at the same time, there's no reason, that there's nobody to say like you couldn't have one release a month or a week or a year, or like, I really want to support people in their individual journeys, and in finding out what resonates with them, as being okay with them and the God of their understanding, and not get too dogmatic about this stuff, because I think that adds an element of tension to this process that isn't necessary. We don't need to cling to this thing. We can just let it be what it is. So at the same time, we want to take it seriously, and we don't want to go down slippery slopes into our old ways. So this is a matter of knowing yourself. So it's like, I know myself. I know that I'm the kind of guy that doesn't eat one potato chip. I eat the whole bag. I don't, it's certain drugs I've tried, the same phenomena, so I don't do those drugs ever, because I know myself. And so for me, it's like, well, if I started having orgasms again, it might be kind of like the bag of chips. I don't know if I'm somebody that can just do this once a week, once a month, especially with another person. So I'm figuring this out as I go, and I'm finding that 9, close to 10 months down the road, it's definitely getting to a point where it's been so long since I've had that release, that the build up, the feeling of like, you guys, I mean, this is like another level. It's like, it's almost like I just want to get like everybody pregnant. That's kind of the vibe. Like, I just feel like there's so much potency going on, and I have to like project it. Like, it has to go somewhere, and my mind has changed now. It's like rewired. So I'm not thinking this is the answer. I'm not thinking this is the answer. It's not. Though that wiring in my brain is different now. It's gone. I rewired it. So now I'm just left with this energy, right? It's like it has to go somewhere. So this is what I really wanted to make the video for. I'm sorry it took 14 minutes to get to the point. But here's the point. If you're somebody like me that's doing this because you know yourself and you know that this is the right thing for you, at least for right now, at least for a while, that you need to be in a period of isolation, celibacy, that you need to be investing in yourself, that you need to be maintaining that energy and forcing yourself to do a bit of shadow work. So if that's you, and you want to be on this trajectory for the long haul, I think that it's essential. It's essential that you produce things. If you're not producing children, if you're not procreating, you better be producing and creating. You better be. Or things are going to get weird. Things are going to get squirrely. This has been my experience. Like, it's a matter of like, I have to, it's not enough to write a song. I have to produce it professionally and release it on the major platforms. I have to start thinking in terms of like building a business model, you know, monetizing my content, you know, thinking about investing in property, buying land, you know, working enough to the point that I have enough savings and good enough credit that I can like purchase property and land. And like, you know, this is the kind of stuff I'm thinking about now that I'm not thinking about tits and ass all the time. So as a man, it's like I absolutely have to make progress. I have to work and accumulate financial capital so that I can build, so that I can invest, so that I can create. It's cost me money to produce this music, right? I had to work for that money, and I'm producing the music. So all this stuff, it like cost me money, it cost me energy, it cost me time. But the end result has to be something like, I created this. Maybe you're a carpenter or something. That's a great outlet. If you can build something with your hands, you know, the point is, just think about, because you are not procreating, you must produce and create. You must. Otherwise, you're going to start chasing girls around again, or you're going to start drinking or smoke something. You're going to do something. Something's going to start. The cravings are going to come. I mean, this has been my experience. It's like the less I'm creating and producing, the more I'm just craving for release of the tension that this energy can create if it just sits there, right? So it's great that we're retaining, but that energy can't just sit there, you guys. It must express itself. So express yourselves, guys. It's the only way I'm still going strong. Is I that's one thing I do a good job of, is I express myself freely and often, and I create and produce results often. Otherwise, I think I might have lost my mind by now. Trust me, I'm craving a woman, but we're not going to fall for the craving. I'm going to continue to invest in myself, because I know I still got some work to do. I've still got some healing to do, and we're not all the way there yet. I don't know if we're ever going to be all the way there yet, but at least for now, my prayer life suggests that we are going to continue on this very solo path for a while, and I'm going to keep sharing my journey with you all, and I really appreciate you guys' support. If you're still with me, if you listen for that long, man, I hope you hit the like button. Help me grow this channel, spread the message, spread the love. Also, please contribute, add to it. Anything you can add, comment, make your own channel, make your own videos if you're not already. All right, signing out.